Joining me now to discuss more, we have Mr. Olu Komu, the CEO, Phillips and Samuel Limited, an experienced commercial leader with an unusual diversity of experience in consumer goods, manufacturing, healthcare, telecoms, financial services, and fintech at very senior levels. It's great to have you on the show, sir. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, laddie. Good to see you. Happy New Year. Thanks for the invitation.
It's great to see you too, sir. So, USSD has been, instrumental in expanding financial inclusion in Nigeria. Do you see the imposition of VAT on these services as a threat to that progress, at this point? And I want to get your general view on this.
Yeah, thank you. I think first, let me commend you for the way you've started the discussion on VAT. I think there's a whole lot of apprehension that we need to correct, and there has to be better communications. There is an apprehension, a potential misunderstanding that the 7.5% charge is on the principal amount that is being sent or received, and everyone is worried, oh, government is going to take 7.5% of what I sent. Not exactly. It is 0.075 multiplied by the bank charges, which you have done. So on a 10 naira, on transactions below 5,000 naira or thereabout, the additional VAT charge is 0.75 naira, which is less than 1 naira. So it's not like, oh, there's an earthquake that is happening. And if you send between 5,000 and 25,000, where the bank fee is 25 naira, 0.075 of 25 naira is going to be 1 naira 88 kobo. And on 6 naira 98 USSD is 0.075 by that, which will be maybe like 40 or 50 kobo. So in essence, I think we need to calm down with better communications by ecosystem players, regulators, and the financial system players to calm apprehensions down. Again, these are not exactly new. The banks have been charging these VAT charges already. It is the fintechs that have not been doing so. And that's largely because when you are small, maybe you have what we call regulatory arbitrage, you are not publicly noticed, you can be doing other things that others, you may not be noticing the system. But as these fintechs have now got systemically important for their volume, we are now going to see increased compliance, both in regulation and in taxes. And that's what we are seeing, where the fintechs now are going to be charging what the banks have traditionally charged for. And so there should not be any apprehension in terms of these bank charges. However, certain policy direction issues. One is that it's very important in terms of interagency agreement in government, both between the financial system regulator and the tax authority and other agencies in collaboration, for a macro policy for affordable digital micropayments. That is because it has big multiplier effect in the economy. We already see this kind of interagency collaboration and principle already on the stamp duty side, where, for example, if the stamp duty charge, if I'm going to send 10,000 naira, the stamp duty exemption does not apply for 10,000 naira transaction and below. So that's a way in which the NRS or FRS, former FRS, and the regulator on the financial system side have cooperated to recognize that, okay, we must ensure that our low-income people can do affordable micropayments. We can apply the same principle to VAT and say, for example, that just as we do with VAT exempt on things like food, let's have VAT exempt on low micropayments like 5,000-6,000, that those ones are exempted from charge. After all, from VAT charges. After all, the charges on 5,000 naira transaction in terms of VAT is going to be 0.75 kobo. So let's make sure, let's apply the same interagency principle of macro policy for affordable digital micropayments, because of its multiplier effects on the economy and economic growth to VAT. So this is what I think the NRS and the financial system regulator may want to consider. In terms of learning from overseas, international best practice, in markets in countries like India and Brazil, bank-to-bank transfers, peer-to-peer payments are actually free. But I have to put a caveat. In those countries like India and Brazil, they have what we call a national digital payment infrastructure owned by government, where a whole lot of people do their transaction peer-to-peer payments, and it is universally free. And it has been seen to be a major factor in driving financial inclusion. The caveat in Nigeria, however, is that we do not have a national digital payment infrastructure. What is closest to it is NIPS, and is built out of public goodwill by Nigerian banks. And therefore, it needs to be sustainable as a private enterprise. But however, it must be done in a way in which the charges are affordable to a lot of our low-income people. And we must commend NIPS for what NIPS have done. NIPS have been dropping its charges historically, and the charges that NIPS charge the bank for using their platform today has dropped to as low as 3 naira. What we need to ensure on the financial system side, especially in terms of regulatory direction, is to continue to push down the tariffs on low micro payments, so that as NIPS is dropping its charges, even if we cannot make it free, we have to be able to do it in a way in which both the VAT, either they disappear, or the bank transfer charges and everything that the consumer will see will be very, very affordable. So bank fees in terms of the low end needs to keep coming down. And secondly, NRS should consider VAT exempt completely on low micro payments, or if it must be done, it must be done in a way in which it is extremely affordable. But the apprehension needs to be corrected. It is not 7.5% on your outflow or inflow, as the public is sometimes, as the apprehension is going on in the
in the I guess, at this point, everyone's getting nervous, once you hear about any tax, because we've seen, the banks, they've been sending a lot of emails, at this time, trying to, get everybody ready, for some of these charges. But now we're looking at some of the, stakeholder reactions, at this point. We're seeing financial inclusion experts warning that this could, turn into a reverse to cash. That's everyone now in the rural area will say, let's just, use cash, at this point. I don't want to go through the banks because of most of these charges. But I'm also wondering, there are limits, to cash transactions, what you can withdraw, in cash. So it almost seems like you're not even going to be able to find the cash, at this point, even though you want to reverse the cash.
Thank you, Ladi. I think, like I said, there has to be better. I know our stakeholders in the financial inclusion ecosystem will be naturally concerned. But first and foremost, let the regulator and the financial system players communicate better. It is the charges in terms of additional 1 naira or 2 naira. Yes, they are significant, but at the low end, the charges are just about 1 naira, or let me say 1.88 kobo. We should be able to cope. However, we should still put on the table the Central Bank of Nigeria, working with the National Revenue Service, under the policy of interagency agreement for a macro policy on affordable micro payments, which has been seen to have multiplier effect in terms of economic growth and inclusive economic system in countries like India and Brazil. There has to be a way in which we can have VAT exempt on low volume micro payments. I think that's the policy direction and it's not strange to NRS already. It has already done that on stamp duty on transactions below 10,000 naira. We can do the same on VAT and make those ones also VAT exempt. And what will be lost will be, and I think we have to commend the government. The general policy direction in terms of taxation is not to put an additional financial burden on the poor. And that is the general policy direction you read when you listen to the tax policy. So we should, maybe they lost sight of this in terms of affordable micro payments. We need to bring it to the attention of the National Tax Authority to do VAT exempt on micro payments. That is what we should put on the table. But people should calm down. It is not 7.5% on what you send or what you receive.
All right.
Thank you.
At this point, let's all keep calm. Thank you so much, Mr. Olu Akombo, the CEO, Phillips and Samuel Limited. Thank you for helping us clear the air there and paint a better picture. Hopefully, we get more information and people stay calm at this point when it comes to these taxes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ladi. Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year.